In this psychology revision video, we will review collective behaviour from paper 2, topic 5, social influence. So for this small section, there's only a couple of things that we need to know. We need to know definitions of collective behaviour and some other key terms. And we need to know the social factors and dispositional factors that influence and affect our collective behaviour. So, when it comes to collective behaviour, we are referring to the way in which people act when they are part of a group, or sometimes more specifically, part of a crowd. And when I say a crowd, I'm talking about these large temporary gatherings of people. They tend to have a common focus. So, for example, one of the best examples might be a crowd in attendance at a sports event like a football match. Now, when you're part of a group or crowd, largely one of two things can happen to us. We can either become quite lazy because we think that we can get away without doing very much, or we kind of become very anti-social. We kind of start doing things that we wouldn't normally do. We're going to tend to focus on the anti-social side, but the fact that we become lazy when we're in a group is also really important in this section. When I'm talking about antisocial behaviour, we are referring to behaviour that is harmful to other people. And the key reason that this happens is because of a process called de-individuation. De-individuation happens when we are in a large crowd. It is going through a process of becoming part of a state of losing our sense of individuality. It's going through the process of feeling less aware of who we are, and we become less responsible for our actions. Essentially, when in a crowd, you forget who you are. You forget what it is that makes you, you, and you start acting like the crowd. Now, this sort of behaviour has resulted in a lot of violent behaviour, a lot of aggressive behaviour, things like riots, things like hooliganism, and any of those examples of videos can be seen on YouTube in simple riot videos. We looked at a few in class, but you get the idea that people act aggressively, they do things that they wouldn't normally do when in a crowd, they follow the crowd mentality. Now, what is it exactly that sort of affects our behaviour when we're in groups? Well, it's always our social and dispositional factors. So like we said, we can become lazy, we can become aggressive. So social factors are quite good at making us quite lazy. Okay, so when it comes to maybe completing a group task, we are quite guilty of putting in less effort because we think other people will do it for us. This is called social loafing, and this is one of the social factors that affects our behaviour when working on something like a school project or a school group task. It's one of the reasons why sometimes group tasks aren't that successful, because someone will always think that they can get away with not doing very much work. Group size is always going to have a huge impact on our behaviour. The larger the group, the more chances of being lazy, because you think that, again, more people will do it for you. But also the larger the group, the more chances that you will go through de-individuation, because you're more likely to think that you will feel invisible, that you can't get caught, and you can't get identified for your actions. And finally, culture. Culture referring to our upbringing and where we were brought up and the norms and values in the society that we have. And essentially there are two types of cultures when it comes to group behaviour. We have individualistic cultures, a bit like here in the UK and the USA, where we're very much, as people, we're very focused on our own needs. We tend to put ourselves first, we tend to look after ourselves. But then we also have collectivist cultures in countries like China and Korea. And in these cultures, being collectivist, you are much more focused on the needs of the group. You put the group before yourself. So what we tend to find is that those from the collectivist cultures are less likely to social loaf than places that have an individualistic culture. So us in the UK, we're really good social loafers. If we think someone else will do something for us, we'll probably let them do it. Places like China, they will always stand up and take responsibility for their part in the group task. Dispositional factors, we've got personality, which we refer to quite a lot, but we've also got morality here. So personality for a dispositional factor, if you have a personality where you are quite concerned with what people think of you, then you're more likely to go along with that crowd behaviour. If you are really wanting to be liked, maybe kind of like a link to conformity here, you really want to fit in, and then you're with a group of friends and you want to fit in, you want to be liked, you're probably going to go along with the crowd behaviour and do something that you wouldn't normally do and experience de-individuation. However, something else inside us that can really affect our de-individuated behaviour is morality. Now, morality and morals refers to your ideas of right and wrong, and you all have them, and they're all going to be slightly different. Some of you will have very strong morals that all violence is wrong, regardless of the situation. And if you have these strong morals, then you would be more likely to walk away from crowd violence, and that means you will not go through de-individuation. So even though the crowd is acting out violently, maybe hooliganism in a football match, you have your strong morals and you will stick to them and you will not get involved. If you don't have strong morals about that sort of thing, then you probably will get involved with the crowd violence and you probably will go through de-individuation. Okay, so that brings to the end a quick summary video on collective behaviour. We've covered the definitions of some keywords and also social factors and dispositional factors that can affect our collective behaviour. That's the final video in the social influence topic. If there's anything you can't remember on conformity, obedience, pro-social bystander behaviour, or collective behaviour, go back to the playlist and give it another watch. Happy revising and good luck, guys.